Welcome to EngineeringAll.com YouTube channel. Please like and share our videos, subscribe to this channel, and turn your notification button on for more videos. Thank you.
Engineering human brain with the planted chip, how Elon Musk's Neuralink technology can improve and extend human life. The new model of bioengineering introduced by Elon Musk's program known as Neuralink is taking the world of medical and engineering experts by surprise. Something that seems to appear practically impossible is about to become a possibility. The idea of having human brains working with electronic devices such as computers and phones directly and wirelessly seems not too far from reality. Neuralink technology is about to change the way we live our lives and possibly introduce a significant change to the human lifespan. Let us discuss in detail some of the possible questions in the mind of many who wants to understand this program and how beneficial it can be. What is Neuralink technology? Neuralink can simply be said to be a breakthrough technology for the brain. It is a new bioengineering invention that works with the human brain. The technology uses an electronic chip inserted into the brain to transmit biosignals in the brain to electronic information which can be interpreted by computers or designated software through wireless transmission between the chip and the electronic device interpreting the signals. Neuralink technology aims at understanding the human brain in general terms from the neurons to the signals being shared by various neurons in the human brain whose number is 86 billion per brain. This simply implies that every human brain has up to 86 billion neurons sharing signals together to communicate with the entire human body as well as receive feedback signals from the various human body units. The signals shared, sent, or received are the result of the physical and emotional activities of the human as well as the human health status. This indirectly means that human actions and health status can be determined through the signals shared by the neurons in the human brain. This is what Neuralink technology is trying to achieve. Therefore, in a simple term, it can be said that Neuralink technology exploits the human brain activities in a wider view, understanding how signals are shared in the human brain through the neurons, then using the technology to transmit such signals into interpretable electronic signals through the help of electronic chip implanted into the brain. How does human brain work? The human brain consists of 86 billion neurons. The neurons are classified into many types but basically into three types, which are the dendrite, the soma, the axon. The dendrite neurons are the neurons that receive signals. They execute the primary responsibility of receiving the various signals being sent into the human brain. The soma neurons are cell bodies that compute the signals. They interpret the signals received by the dendrite neurons in the human brain. The axon neurons are the neurons that send signals out. These neurons are responsible for releasing signals interpreted by the soma neurons. The interconnected functionalities of these three classes of neurons help to understand how the human brain works. The interconnection of these neurons occurs through synapses. The synapses connection of the neurons helps in the sending and receiving of signals through the axon neurons to the dendrite neurons. How do synapses help in sharing of signals in neurons? Synapses help the neurons to communicate through electric signals. Action potentials cause a synapse to release neurotransmitters. The synapses known as small molecules bind to receptors on the dendrite neurons, opens channels for current flow across the neuron's membrane. The action potential initiates when a neuron receives the correct combination of spatiotemporal synaptic input. Can the electrical signals in the brain be recorded? The recording of the electrical signals in the human brain is where the Neuralink focuses. The idea is to plant an electronic chip in the human brain to record the electric signals being shared across neurons. The electronic chip consists of electrodes that shall be placed near neurons in a way that it can detect action potentials. The ability of the chip's electrodes to record from many neurons helps to interpret the electric signals in understandable human information. The chip's recording also helps to know information represented by various cells in the brain. The electronic chip also helps to determine human actions based on information shared by the various neurons. For instance, Neuron signals represent various information including intended movements of the human body parts. It contains information about human feeling, touching, and reasoning. Interpreting such signals correctly could mean reading the actions of humans through the brain or something close to it. Why must we plant electronic chips in the human brain? Before now, neurons' activities can be monitored from the outer skin of the brain using a kind of probe or non-invasive techniques such as the EEG. Using this conventional method places lots of limitations on the medical experts in terms of understanding in detail. Rather, the summed records of millions of neurons can be the only obtainable information. This limitation blurs the vital information from the brain away from experts. Placing the chip into the brain helps the electrodes to interact with the 86 billion neurons, get their electric signals, and detect the action potentials shared to the synapses. This volume of information will be very useful in understanding the human brain and overall body condition at any time and with less difficulty or misinterpretations. Planting of the electronic chip can also help to stimulate the neurons through the introduction of electric current. It is believed that when small currents are delivered through the electrodes in the chip, the changing electric field drives nearby neurons to fire one or more action potentials. According to Neuralink's publication, it is possible to create patterns of activity that elicit the desired sensation by simply stimulating the right temporal sequences across many electrodes. This means that desired sensations such as the feel of an object in the hand or a visual image can be achieved through this means. It also noted that the stimulation can also reduce or eliminate the pathological patterns of activity that occur in neurological disorders, using the movement deficit in Parkinson's disease as a case study. How does the electronic chip charge? The chip charges itself through the compact inductive charger that wirelessly connects to the chip to charge the battery from the outside. So, how does Neuralink technology works with human brain? The Neuralink engineers the brain to communicate with computers by sharing information received from the brain. This is made possible through the electronic chip planted inside the brain. The chip consists of numerous electrodes which are placed near the neurons, making it possible to receive the electric signals and action potentials shared in the neurons and synapses respectively. What are the advantages of Neuralink technology? The Neuralink technology is going to offer a major breakthrough in the medical sector. It is believed that its success will pave the way for the possible treatment of the most difficult health challenges. It is assumed to be the gateway to the understanding of the human body at any given time and administer the right treatment based on what the body cells want. Besides the medical benefits, Neuralink technology is believed to help humans control electronic devices such as computers and smartphones by simply thinking about them to perform a specific action. This means controlling computers and phones with thoughts from the brain. According to the information shared by the program, it states from neurons to computer, we're designing the first neural implant that will let you control a computer or mobile device anywhere you go. Micron-scale threads are inserted into areas of the brain that control movement. Each thread contains many electrodes and connects them to an implant, the link. According to the program's information, a Neuralink app would make it possible to any iOS device through the activity in the brain after linking to the app in the device. There are many other promising benefits similar to this. The program is also building a fully integrated brain-computer interface, BCI, system which aims to enable computers and other digital devices to communicate directly with the brain. This means there is more to gain in this technology besides the medical benefits. In fact, the program was actually aimed at helping paralyzed people to control their electronic devices without touching them. How can Neuralink technology electronic chips be implanted? The chip will be implanted by a special AI robot known as precision automated neurosurgery. The robot neurosurgeon will be reliable and efficient and will ensure the proper positioning of the chip in the right place in the brain. The implanting will be painless in just a few minutes. What are the possible dangers of Neuralink? So far, no danger or harmful record has been raised against the program because the experts in it seem to give clear information regarding it and how they are seriously focusing on the safety of the people that will be using the technology. Conclusion. The about information Neuralink technology means that human lives can be saved from it as well as improvements in the way we live our lives. In general, it is believed to help prolong human life through early detection of sickness, infection, etc., and early treatment using precision-based treatment based on the actual body requirements.
You want to move your cursor. Like all information you can perceive or imagine, the intent to move a computer cursor is represented in your brain. Your brain is composed of nearly 100 billion cells called neurons. Neurons come in many complex shapes, but generally they have a dendritic arbor, a cell body called a soma, and an axon. The neurons of your brain connect to form a large network through axon-dendrite junctions called synapses. At these connection points, neurons communicate with each other using chemical signals called neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are released from the end of an axon in response to an electrical spike called an action potential. When a cell receives enough of the right kind of neurotransmitter input, a chain reaction is triggered that causes an action potential to fire, and the neuron to in turn relay messages to its own downstream synapses. Action potentials produce an electric field that spreads from the neuron and can be detected by placing electrodes nearby, allowing recording of the information represented by a neuron. Information about everything from movement, to vision, to hearing, to hunger, to dreaming during sleep, everything you can experience can be found by recording these electrical signals in different areas of the brain. Information about moving your cursor can be found in a number of brain areas, including the primary motor cortex, or M1. When the cursor is moved up, some neurons in M1 will fire a lot, some will fire a little, and others will be silent, and vice versa if the cursor is moved down. In other brain areas, relevant information is represented in more complex ways, which can be learned with more sophisticated models. Through these relationships, we can begin to decode the communication signals in the brain. And by recording enough neurons, movement intent can be elucidated with higher fidelity.
First and most immediate need for a robot is to be able to manipulate these threads and insert them into the brain.
So the implant is kind of like this little puck of the secret sauce active electronics, and the electrodes are these tiny little flexible threads that each at the very end have multiple little electrodes that if you get those electrodes next to a neuron, they can record what that neuron is doing.
The nature of the device that we're implanting and the way that we're implanting it allows for minimal reaction of the brain tissue to our device to increase the lifetime. In order to do that, the devices are extremely fragile.
The threads that we insert that contain the electrodes are tiny, sort of on the order of 50 microns wide, 5 microns thick, 20 millimeters long. And so if you take one of them and sort of toss it into the air, it'll sort of float off like a piece of hair.
And those tiny little flexible hairs are too small for a human to handle, even with tweezers, and that's where the robot comes in.
Computer vision and software, essentially high reliability software, is really important. We've gone from not really being able to track the moving brain, which is critical for humans because the human brain moves a lot, to having this OCT-based system that essentially gives us this 21 hertz real-time view of a 3D volume of the brain that we're looking at. What you're trying to do is very fine computer vision tasks and movement tasks to grab these threads. It's an extremely hard engineering problem.
I would say the next big goal for the robot would be to make it so that there's minimal neurosurgeon interface, that a neurosurgeon can walk in and talk to the patient, make them feel comfortable about the procedure, walk them through exactly what's going to happen, and then essentially click go. And the robot will be able to figure out exactly what the specific topography of the patient will be, target the areas, and take the surgery from the patient coming in and sitting down to them walking out of the door that same day.
If we make this so automated and safe and fast that anyone can get it, even the idea of really fast keyboard and mouse for myself that I don't need to use my hands for is super alluring.
I'm excited for the robot to help a human patient restore someone's motor function that they lost. That would be super cool. Over the last 3 years, Neuralink has felt like it has grown from a garage project into a real product.
Not only do you get to work on robots, but you also get to interact with other people who don't typically use robots.
I knew nothing about neurosurgery before coming to Neuralink. I can come in as a robotics expert and know that there are neurosurgeons here, neuroscientists here, who essentially can act as my knowledge base for neurosurgery and neuroscience. That's why I think it's the place to be.